This meeting is being recorded and audio streamed via the Council website and social media. Good afternoon, councillors, staff and members of the public. Please be upstanding for our Mayor, Councillor Straub, to read the opening affirmation.
Thank you, Mr Fitzgerald. Loddon Shire's Council opening affirmation is: we, the Council Lords of Loddon Shire, declare that we will carry out our duties in the best interests of our community, and through collective leadership we will maintain the highest standards of good governance.
The Loddon Shire Council acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land upon which we are gathered and pays its respects to elders both past and present. Please be seated.
Thank you all and welcome to the Loddon Shire May Council meeting. Welcome to our gallery here in the chamber in Wedderburn, and also welcome to all those live streaming the council meeting via our streaming platforms. We will start with apologies, which we have none today, and any conflicts of interest to declare. Mr Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I have a perceived conflict of interest in item 10.3, which is the CEO Employment and Remuneration Committee Terms of Reference, and I also have a material conflict of interest in items 14.1 and 14.2, which are the CEO Performance Review and the reappointment of the CEO. I'll be leaving the room during those matters. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Fitzgerald. Those have been noted. Okay, if there's no further conflicts to declare, we'll keep moving on to 5.1, our confirmation of minutes from our previous council meeting, which was shared in the agenda pack. And I will ask if there was any questions regarding those minutes. Do we have the councillor prepared to move those minutes being true and correct? Councillor to move. Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Do I have a councillor to second those minutes? Thank you, Councillor Holt. A show of hands in favour, and those minutes of previous carried. Item 6.1, the council's auspice meetings. The record of council's auspice meetings. Mr Fitzgerald, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Council's governance rules require a record of meetings conducted under the auspices of Council to be reported to the next scheduled meeting. That record must include which councillors and officers attended, a summary of the matters which were considered at that meeting, and any conflicts of interest that were disclosed. A record of these matters is attached to this agenda report, and the recommendation is that Council confirm the records of the following auspiced meetings. 1. The Council briefing held 28 November 2026. 2. The Council forum held 12 May 2026. And 3. The Council forum held on the 13th of May 2026. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillors, any questions, queries or comments regarding the auspice meetings? Recommendation in front of us there to confirm the record of those meetings. Thank you, Councillor Wilson, as moving. Do I have a councillor to second? Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Show of hands in favour, and those are carried. Moving along to the review of action sheets, 7.1. Mr Fitzgerald, please.
Thank you again, Mr Mayor. A document containing the status of actions arising from council meeting resolutions is attached to this report. It's a long-standing practice of Loddon Shire that these resolutions and the progress in implementing them is reported on a monthly basis. I'm very pleased to report that all 10 actions arising from the May 2026 council meeting resolutions have been acted upon, and the one resolution action which has been outstanding since the 25th of November last year resolution will be addressed in the agenda later today. The recommendation is that Council receive and note the status of Council resolution actions as attached to this report. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Fitzgerald. Councillors, been able to have a look at those action items in the detail provided. Is there any questions, queries or comments? Do I have a councillor prepared to move a motion that those accepted? Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Do I have a councillor to second that motion? Thank you, Councillor Weaver. To have a show of hands in favour? Sorry, Councillor Wilson.
Mayor, may I talk?
Yes, sorry, you can talk to the motion if you'd like. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. I think it's just important as a piece of information to observe about this is how quickly and responsive council officers are to actions coming out of council meetings that are within their control. And I think it's very interesting to see where we are not in control of actions, the things we have no control over that can delay our responsiveness to things. And I just think it's an interesting observation of how well our officers do respond when they can and to things that are within their control. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Councillor Weaver, as a seconder, would you like the opportunity to speak?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other councillor wishing to speak for or against? A show of hands in favour, and that is carried. Thank you, councillors. Moving on to our reports, and we'll start with 8.1, my mayoral report for this month. I have been able to get around to a number of events and community meetings, but also it's been a busy month for myself sowing this year's crop. And I know many others have been in the same position, so all the very best. We've had some good rain, some timely rain, but nonetheless, council issues. So we'll revert back to the 6th of May, where I was delighted to attend briefly in the morning of the Loddon Shire All-Staff meeting held in Serpentine. That was something that I've taken the opportunity on a regular occasion to go along and just have a morning coffee and intermingle and network a bit with the staff all in the one spot for that particular all-staff meeting. And it was really great to recognise some long-standing achievements of staff, especially with their tenure here in Loddon. And I'm going to pick on Director Gladman with 30 years service here in Loddon. So it was great to be there, and congratulations. You know, it's been a very mixed opportunity for you with a lot of different roles, and we've appreciated your input over those 30 years. So thank you, Director Gladman. Just wanted to make a point of that. Then on Friday the 8th, I attended the Loddon Campaspe Group of Councils meeting held in Bendigo. That was an opportunity where we get to have presentations from the Department of Transport and Planning, from the Department of DECA, and also from this particular meeting, we had Alistair Parker in the room to talk about VicGrid and the renewable energy projects, which gave myself in particular another opportunity to ask some hard questions of Mr. Parker himself and what VicGrid is planning when they're still not confirmed on the boundaries of the Northwest or Northern Zone RES, which is impacting a lot of Loddon Shire. So questions regarding that was, is it going to be a hard boundary or a soft boundary, knowing that a project can be 51% within the boundary of the RES, but 49% outside the boundary, which I still argue is not appropriate. If you're going to create a RES zone, projects should be within that RES. So there's some questions that I've been putting to Alistair Parker and VicGrid, but also getting some figures regarding our road networks across the state from the Department of Transport and Planning. And unfortunately, road fatalities have increased this year compared to this time last year. And that is due to a lot of different factors, but some definite data showing that condition of road is playing into that. And that's something that we do here well in Loddon is keep the maintenance and the renewal for our road network, our main roads in particular, to a very high standard, but are definitely being let down via, I'm just going to say it, via the state government's road network and the lack of maintenance that they've invested over the past number of years. Moving on from that, we had 2 days of council forum on the 12th and the 13th. On Wednesday the 13th, a big focus on finances and a full day of budget discussions and also financial training, which was part of the remit of council laws now, is to have formal training on a lot of different topics, and we took the opportunity to do a financial workshop and tick off on some mandatory councillor training that day. And it's to the benefit of us, but also to the benefit of our constituents too, in our communities, especially when we're getting into the finer details of budget, which we will be in the coming months. We're already having very lengthy discussions at the moment. Now, this was a little bit more of an exciting day, and I was very privileged, I believe, to be a part of the official opening of Basisto's eucalyptus distillery at Karaka, just out the road here in Wedderburn. Basisto's have been harvesting eucalyptus for 100 plus years here in the Loddon Shire, and they've recently invested $10 million into their new facility just out the road and offering more employment opportunities within Loddon Shire. It was great to be part of that, but great to see private businesses having the confidence to invest in Loddon and utilising what we have to offer here, and making the most of the opportunities to continue a very well-known and prestigious brand, but not forgetting our other eucalyptus manufacturers across Loddon too. They're all very, very important. I know it's been an ongoing profitable business here in Loddon Shire as eucalyptus distilling, and I do wish Basisto's, but also all of our other eucalyptus harvesters and manufacturers, all the very, very best into the near future. Moving on to the 20th, I attended the Pyramid Hill Progress Association. That's a meeting I try and attend every second month, but it was good to get back into the Pyramid Hill community at the Progress meeting and talk all things progress and tourism on that night with a very dedicated group, as our community groups are. I'm going to leave it there, and I will ask, please, if there's a councillor prepared to move that my mayoral report be tabled. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Show of hands in favour, and the mayoral report is carried. I'll move along to 9.1, which is our council law reports, and I'm going to start to my left with Councillor Holt, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. On the 4th of May, I attended a meeting of the Loddon Shire Internal Audit and Risk Committee. On the 12th, we had the council forum here, and on the 13th, as you mentioned, Mr Mayor, a rather extensive and intensive day centred on Loddon Shire finances and the budget. And I think, Mr Mayor, that's going to be a precursor to some very rigorous discussions about the financial situation here in Loddon and our long-term financial planning. On the 14th, we had the opening of the Felton Grimmaiden Basisto's new eucalyptus distillery at Karaka, and I think you've covered that very well, Mr Mayor. Karaka is, of course, that's Holt stomping ground out there, Mr Mayor, and a lot of the country out there is now being very productively used with commercial eucalyptus growing and distilling, and we look forward to the development of that fantastic project out there. And congratulations to Felton Grimmaiden Basisto's, which is now the Abbott family, for what they've achieved out there. On the 20th, Mr Mayor, there was an interesting one. There's some Deaker land here near Wedderburn that's the site of the old Christmas Reef gold mine, which was a functioning gold mine out there. And I went out there with our Economic Development Officer, David Stretch, to have a look around the site. I hadn't been out there for many years, to see if there are any assets there that may be of use to Loddon Shire pertaining to the tourism industry, because Deaker and Parks are pretty keen to divest themselves of the assets that are out there. But in my view, Mr Mayor, there's nothing left out there that would be of value to Loddon Shire. I assume we'll get a report from Officer Stretch on that matter. And finally, Mr Mayor, last night I attended a Donaldson Park Committee of Management meeting, and can I say, Mr Mayor, that committee has been operating in uncharted waters since the opening of the new complex down there, because obviously it's a far more complex operation to administer and a far more expensive operation to administer. And I was very interested to see their finance report for the last 12 months, Mr Mayor, and I think we've got that functioning on a basis in which it can sustain itself, with, of course, the assistance of the council maintenance grant, which we give all of our recreation reserves. But I was very, very pleased to see that they've adapted to their new circumstances. They're all working very cooperatively together, and I think that's the final piece in the puzzle for what is a tremendous community asset program for Loddon, or project for Loddon. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Holden. That's some great feedback on the operations at Donaldson Park too, and I think we can learn a lot about their collaboration and make sure that our rec reserves in particular are sustainable into the future. Councillor Angelo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the 6th of April, 6th of May, I should say. Sorry, I attended a hall committee meeting at Lanakuri. On the 8th of May, I attended a Tarnagola community planning meeting in Tarnagola. I also attended on the 12th and the 13th of May. The head was throbbing a little bit with information by the end of both those days. That's for sure. Plenty of financial stuff going around. On the 16th, I attended the swap meet, first swap meet in Wedderburn. I'll tell you what, I'd take my hat off to all involved. What an absolutely marvellous day. No bargains for me, nothing for what I was looking for, but there was plenty of bargains there. So looking forward to next year. And yeah, that's it from me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor. I've actually neglected to write down the dates of my activities, so I'm just going to go through what I did in May. What I didn't do was anything involved with the Calder Highway Improvement Committee, which I'm the delegate for since I've been a councillor, which is almost 2 years. We've met once. One of the other councils involved in this committee actually got a substantial amount of money, I think to the tune of $200 million. They were also the secretariat for this committee. I think since they've got their money, maybe their interest in the committee has wavered, and I think the whole committee perhaps is maybe might need a review. But in May, obviously, council forums, the Kiora Women's Network Dinner, which is held at the Bridgewater Pub once a month, a terrific get-together of local women. We had Jo Armstrong, who is been pre-selected as a Nationals candidate, and Ripon came and had a talk to the group. The Inglewood District Health Services Seniors Day, which was a fantastic day at Inglewood Town Hall, great fun going on there. I also was at the Bazistos, Yuki, the opening of the new development there. It was just so nice to drive onto a farm that didn't smell of cattle or sheep, and it had this lovely smell of eucalyptus. So that was very pleasant and fantastic to see the community investment in that. I attended the Campbell's Forest, Inglewood and Bridgewater Community Group meetings. Just something to note coming out of all those is that Campbell's Forest is starting a supper club at their hall. It's going to have a different flavour of cuisine, and you can go along and attend. It'll be on Facebook. The first one's an Italian supper, so I'm really looking forward to that. The Inglewood Elderly Persons Unit meeting this morning, we had Bev MacArthur, who's the Shadow Minister for Local Government, come and talk to us. And finally, but not leastly, last week it was announced that St Mary's Catholic School, primary school in Inglewood, will close at the end of this year. Now, this is very, very sad for the community of the school, where it's just a little school community where the children are, but it has devastated that community that the school is going to be closing. Now there's a lot of activity about, change.org, let's rally around, let's sign petitions. Unfortunately, it's probably after the event. Who knows? We may be able to save the school. But I think the observation and the point to be made about this is that the community have decided about the future of that school. Where you have choice and you make your choices, which is what we all want, the community has made that decision, which is unfortunate for the community that have chosen to send their children there. But it really does come down to a community decision where they couldn't see the future of the school in terms of enrolments. So I'm sorry to say on that sad note, that is my report.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. And today we'll finish with Councillor Weaver.
Thank you, Mayor Straw. On the 4th of May, I met with a delegation of the Caravan Camping and Motorhome Association regarding a big gathering they're going to have with 250 campsites and 400 people at Bort Park in 2027. And that looks like being a great thing for the community. On the 18th, I also met with staff from the Shire and former Councillor Beattie, who's the President of the Bort Park Committee, re some upgrades at Bort Park to bring the change rooms up the speed and with modern rules and regulations, especially the netball change rooms that need a bit of a tidy up. Following that meeting, we moved down to the tennis club with the Shire staff again, and the tennis club regarding upgrades associated with the new fencing and lighting for the tennis courts under the Lake Foreshore Precinct project. And then on the 23rd of May, which was last Saturday, I attended the flood recovery round of football here at Donaldson Park, and it was a great day, and I think, to be able to contribute a bit to our communities was a good thing, and a lot of the kids really appreciate it, and the Wedderburn boys look like they've got a good side this year. And to finish up, it's been an excellent start to the season for our region's farmers, with most of the district crop in the ground and emerging. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Weaver. And I think just touching on local football, we're still got a number of flood recovery rounds coming up this very weekend. So I know Pyramid Hill had theirs, Bort Wedderburn, and we've got the other remaining Loddon Shire teams. So if you're interested in local football, it's a great chance this weekend to get out and enjoy some great local football with a free gate entry and also activities for the kids too. So something that Loddon Shire's initiative to help support these clubs with some flood recovery money. So it's been a great initiative for the community. So I will ask, please, if there is a councillor prepared to move all those 4 council reports. Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Show of hands in favour. And those reports are carried. Thank you very much. We'll move along to decision reports, and councillors, we have 6 reports for decision today. We have our first decision report being 10.1, our finance report for the period ending the 31st of March 2026, and I'll please ask Director Steadman to take us through the report and the 3-point recommendation.
Thank you, Mayor Straub. Councillors, this report presents Council's financial position for Q3 to the 31st of March 2026. It outlines Loddon's year-to-date operating performance against our budget, our capital works financial progress, and the current cash, investment and liabilities position of Council. The report also highlights revisions required due to advice received from the federal government concerning our Roads to Recovery program funding, which we've previously discussed at the council table. Council's year-to-date operating revenue totals $24.71 million, and we note that cash earnings on interest continue to provide healthy returns. Our operating expenditure to end of Q3 is $32.616 million, bringing year-to-date expenditure to 74% of our anticipated spend for the year. The Capital Works Program financial actuals and commitments sit at 54% of our expected end-of-year result, with Q4 anticipated to see a large component of capital delivery, as has been the case in previous years. And while cash holdings remain strong, our operating statement shows a year-to-date operating deficit of $7.44 million compared to the adopted budget deficit amount of $7.13 million, but also to the forecast end-of-year deficit of $13.79 million. And that's given the adjustments that we've had throughout the previous 2 quarters. That's due. There's a large impact of council's operating result from our dependence on timing of our financial assistance grants from the federal government. With those being such large amounts, it can create large swings in our surplus deficit measures across our financial year. Detail on supplementary property valuations are also included in the report, where each year Council makes a number of additions, subtractions and alterations to the valuations contained in our annual rate book through administrative processes as advised by the Victorian Valuer General. The recommendation with Council today for this report is that Council 1 receives and notes the finance report for the quarter ending 31 March 2026, 2 approves the budget revisions included in the report for internal reporting purposes, 3 approves the supplementary valuations of rateable and non-rateable properties in respect of the 25-26 financial year as returned by the Shire Valuers LG Valuations Proprietary Limited, and endorses them being incorporated into the register of rateable and non-rateable properties. Thank you, Mayor Straub.
Thank you, Director Steadman. And we had the opportunity to meet with the valuers at our council forum a fortnight ago to get a in-depth look at how they set those evaluations and the categories too, where evaluations have either risen or decreased by percentage. So, councillors, is there any questions, queries or comments before I ask if there is a mover to the recommendation? Do I have a mover to move a motion? Thank you, Councillor Holt. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Councillor Holt, opportunity to speak to your motion? No. Councillor Weaver is a seconder. Any other councillor wishing to speak for or against? If not, a show of hands in favour, and that is carried. Thank you, councillors. Moving along to 10.2, future of maternal and child health services, Loddon. And I'll please ask Director Gladman to take us through the report and recommendation.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, this report provides the findings of the recent review into the future delivery of maternal and child health services in Loddon Shire and presents a recommended path forward for Council's consideration. Firstly, I would like to acknowledge that the maternal and child health service is a highly valued service within our community. It provides an important foundation for children and families, particularly in the early years, and the review confirms the strength of that value and the dedication of the staff who have delivered the service locally. The recommendation before Council is not a reflection on the quality or importance of the service. Rather, it reflects the increasing challenge for Council in continuing to directly deliver a specialist clinical service within a small rural local government context. The review found that while the current model has served the community well, it is becoming more difficult to sustain over the long term. This is due to a combination of future workforce vulnerability, the scale of the service, and the complexity of clinical governance and compliance requirements. For those reasons, the report recommends that Council work with the Department of Health towards a transition of service delivery to an appropriate department commissioned provider, with the intent to support a model that is more sustainable into the future while maintaining access to this important service for local families. The recommendation before Council is that Council ceases to be the direct service provider of the Universal Maternal Child Health Service and Enhanced Maternal and Child Health Service. Notes that Council's current co-contribution to the Universal Service is linked to Council's direct service delivery role and will cease following the transition to a department commissioned provider. Commits to working with the Department of Health to negotiate transition timing and processes that support the interests of service users, staff and the broader community. Authorises the Chief Executive Officer to formally notify the Department of Health of Council's decision and requests that the Department commence commissioning arrangements for an appropriate provider to deliver maternal and child health services in Loddon. Delegates authority of the Chief Executive Officer to undertake or commission all activities required to implement this Council decision, and authorises the Chief Executive Officer to negotiate a short-term extension, if required, to support continuity of service and positive client transition outcomes. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Director Gladman. Councillors, any questions, queries or comments before I ask for a councillor prepared to move a motion? Do I have Councillor Holt with a question?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, local government has traditionally been a provider of maternal and child health services across rural Victoria for decades. So this is a significant decision, and I think, Mr Mayor, in a nutshell, Officer Gladman, are we concerned about our capacity to deliver this service at a standard that would be desirable given our current resources and challenges that you've listed around it, and that this decision should result in a better service for the families of Loddon?
Thank you, Councillor Holt. Director Gladman.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Holt. That's correct. And we also see that it would actually provide a higher level of clinical governance for the staff as well, and support at a staff peer level that when we're dealing with nursing staff in a local government context that we can't offer. So we actually think that that service is better aligned with a health-based service rather than a local government service, which, because of circumstances over 100 years ago, is how it was actually rolled out initially.
Thank you, Director. Councillor Holt with a follow-up question.
Yes, thanks, Mr Mayor. So, Officer Gladman, is there a cost saving to Loddon in this move?
So currently Council contributes 50% of the cost of the universal service, and my suggestion to Council is that we would no longer be responsible for that co-contribution. So there would be a small saving in that co-contribution because we actually generally tend to run the service at that break-even point.
So cost is not the factor, it's quality of service.
That's correct.
Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Councillor Holt. Was there any other questions? Yeah. Do I have a councillor prepared to move to the move a motion into, we've got a 6-point recommendation. Councillor prepared to move a motion to that. Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Councillor Angelo, as the mover, the opportunity to speak to your motion.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd just like to say there's a lot of work gone into this document to make sure that when the transition does happen, there'll be no breaks in service. So Loddon Shire residents won't lose any services on the handover. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Councillor Weaver as a seconder? No. Any further councillors wishing to speak for? Thank you, Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor. 34 years ago last week, I became a mother, and what a terrifying thing that was to me, and how grateful I was for the maternal and child health services available to me at the time to give me reassurance and guidance. And I don't think those sorts of feelings change. However, the workings and staffing and funding of these resources does. I wrote last week in the Loddon Herald about decisions from the head and the heart, and this is certainly one of those. My heart says what a lovely service this is to be provided by council, but my head, after looking at the review, says we need to let the providers who are properly resourced in this business to deliver the services. Hence, I will be voting in favour of this resolution. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Any other councillor wishing to speak for? Nobody against? No. Before I put it to the vote, I would just make comment that I think many thousands of Loddon children have had the privilege of maternal child health at a very high standard in the past, but changes have come about, changes are upon us, and my children both went through Loddon provided maternal child health, but it does get to a point where we have to look at the best equipped service or best equipped agency to deliver services, and it is within the healthcare service, and it is giving also the option to those nursing staff that may want to progress their nursing career and don't have that opportunity employed by local government, and also with the small team that it has those possibilities of individual nurses becoming ill or taking time off, and then there's no service provided because we just do not have the staff to replace them. So I do too agree that this is the best decision moving forward for the community and for future infants in Loddon Shire and future parents to get the best quality service that we could possibly expect. And I think this decision has come at in a timely manner, and the right decision seemingly will be made. So in saying that, Councillor Angelo, as the mover, would you like to sum up debate? I'll ask for a show of hands in favour, and that is carried. Thank you very much, councillors. Now we move on to 10.3, and Mr Fitzgerald declared a conflict of interest to this agenda item, the CEO Employment and Remuneration Policy and CEO Employment and Remuneration Committee Terms of Reference. Mr Fitzgerald has left the chamber. I'll ask please Director Steadman to take us through the document, the report, and also the recommendation to follow.
Thank you, Mayor Straub. Councillors, this report presents a reviewed CEO employment and remuneration policy together with an updated terms of reference for the CEO Employment and Remuneration Committee. The updates reflect current legislative requirements under the Local Government Act and contemporary governance expectations regarding transparency, performance management and oversight of CEO employment matters. The proposed changes will also further clarify the role and responsibilities of the CEO Employment and Remuneration Committee in supporting council decision making in this area. Councillors, the recommendation with you today is that Council resolve to adopt the reviewed CEO Employment and Remuneration Policy version 3 and the CEO Employment and Remuneration Committee Terms of Reference. Thank you, Mayor Straub.
Thank you, Director Steadman. Councillors, as always, I'll open it up for any last minute questions or queries. If not, I'll ask if a councillor prepared to move. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move the officer recommendation with an additional point involving dot point 3 in section 3, policy overview of the CEO employment and remuneration policy version 3. So my motion is that council resolve to adopt the reviewed CEO employment and remuneration policy version 3 and the CEO employment and remuneration committee terms of reference, with the third dot point in section 3, policy overview of the presented CEO employment and remuneration policy version 3 being amended to read, respond to constructive feedback from councillors and committee members in relation to performance appraisals. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Councillors, we'll need a seconder for the amended, or for the motion. Councillor Weaver, thank you very much. This was discussed earlier in the day to make sure that everyone was understanding of Councillor Wilson's amendments. So, Councillor Weaver, as a seconder, opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, no, I'm happy to second the amendment as put forward by Councillor Wilson. Thank you.
No worries. In that case, I'll ask for a show of hands in favour of the amendment, and then we can debate the motion as it then stands. Sorry, Councillor Holt. Yes?
No, the motion is the motion.
Sorry, yes. No, I was taking it as it was an amendment, but it was, yes, put forward before there was the motion was initially.
The officer put
Yes.
forward a recommendation. Councillor Wilson moved that as a motion with her adjustment to it.
Yes, so we're all clear. Yeah, so you've moved the Councillor Wilson's adjustment, which now becomes the motion.
Yes.
So then I will revert back and ask if Councillor Wilson would like to speak as the initial mover.
No, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Weaver? Any other councillors wishing to speak now in favour? Against? No, not wanting to speak? Okay, well in that case, I'll ask for a show of hands in favour, and that is carried. Thank you, councillors. Thank you for that point of order to clarify that. I was going to revert back to that as the new wording, but we didn't have to do that, so I was getting ahead of myself. We'll move on and invite Mr Fitzgerald back into the room because we need Mr Fitzgerald to present the next recommendation. 10.4 is the Loddon Shire Council's priority document 2026. This is a document that we've spent a lot of time compiling to put us in the best opportunity to leverage the state government election in November. So Mr Fitzgerald, welcome back. And would you like to please take us through the document and the recommendation attached?
Thank you, Mayor Straub. Councillors, this report responds to a council resolution of 25th of November 2025. Councillors have undertaken a number of workshops to really go through every single item that was in the previous priorities document. Consider it in light of our new council plan, community vision and municipal public health and wellbeing plan, as well as all of our other strategies. Council's also gone through, in addition to the priority projects, councillors have gone through what items are not necessarily the direct responsibility of this council. They may be the responsibility of state or federal government. In this case, this document is really targeting the state election at the end of this year. So it relates more to the state government issues than the federal ones. It also looks to advocate on behalf of our community groups that are providing services to the community on matters that affect them. I will not go into detail on the advocacy matters that are included because I might leave that to councillors should they wish to draw down further on them. However, what I would say is that this document will be used to talk to both the incumbent MPs as well as the opposition and any other candidate who may wish to put their hand up to be elected at the end of the year. We wish to talk to them. We want to tell them about our priorities and why they're priorities for the community to deliver services and infrastructure that really matters. So, councillors, I just want to say thank you to all the staff and the councillors who have worked diligently to develop up this document and place us in a position where today we can present this to council seeking adoption. The recommendation is that council adopt the Loddon Shire Council Priorities document, which is attachment 1 to this agenda report, and authorise the Chief Executive Officer to make administrative changes in order to finalise the content and graphic design of the document. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Fitzgerald. Councillors, do we have any questions, comments, queries? If not, I'll ask if there's a councillor prepared to move to a motion to the recommendation. Councillor Wilson, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Councillor Wilson, would you like the opportunity to speak?
Thank you, Mayor. I've had a number of my constituents wonder about why the Inglewood Streetscape is in this priorities document when we have been out consulting with the community for a couple of years now on the understanding that we would be seeking federal funding for this project. We understood that we potentially would get this funding by December of last year, which didn't occur. We're now heading into June. So the reason for putting this into this document, which is generally directed towards the state election, is to, for want of a better word, edge our bets, is the reason why the Inglewood Streetscape has been put into this ask for the state election, whilst we're also hoping to hear further news on the federal funding for that particular project. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Councillor Angelo, as the seconder.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think this document definitely asserts where the direction Loddon Shire's pushing for its constituents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Councillor wishing to speak for? Anyone wishing to speak against? No? In that case, I'll ask for a show of hands in favour. And that is carried. Thank you, councillors. We will move on to 10.5, our waste service charges for the 2026/2027 financial year. And I'll ask, please, Director Steadman to take us through that report with the attached recommendation.
Thank you again, Mayor Straub. Councillors, this report outlines considerations for proposed waste service charge increases for the 26/27 financial year as part of the development of the 26/27 budget. The report provides an update on the changing underlying cost drivers for Loddon's waste services, particularly contractual costs and new regulatory requirements from the Fair Work Commission on fuel cost increases affecting transport chains being able to be passed on to those procuring those transport services. The report discusses options for the setting of waste charges for the upcoming year, recommending to Council an increase in line with full cost recovery principles. As a material expense to Council, the report seeks Council direction on the charging structure to offset these expenses so that the income from the charge may be incorporated into the upcoming 26/27 budget. The recommendation with Council today is that Council 1 endorses a 15% increase to Council's annual waste service charges for the 26/27 financial year for inclusion in the 26/27 annual budget, and 2 notes the resulting indicative annual charges would be garbage collection 140 litres at $489, curbside recycling 240 litres at $184, and commercial garbage 240 litres at $665, subject to final budget adoption and statutory processes. Thank you, Mayor Straub.
Thank you, Director Steadman. Councillors, opportunity to ask any late questions, any queries or comments. If not, Councillor Wilson with a question.
Just a comment. Director Steadman put it eloquently, but with quite a lot of sophisticated language. I think maybe just to reiterate that, put simply, we are not allowed to ask our contractors to cover the cost of the increased cost of fuel it has been deemed by Fair Work that we can't do that. So that is a lot of the impetus behind this, is that we can't ask them to cover their costs for the increased amount of fuel that it's going to cost them to pick up our rubbish. Councillor Steadman did say that, but with more technical words.
Director Steadman.
Director Steadman, thank you.
Councillor Wilson, thank you. Do we have a councillor prepared to move, or Councillor Wilson, are you prepared to move to a motion to the recommendation in front of us? Do I have a councillor prepared to move? Oh, thank you, Councillor Weaver. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Holt, thank you. Councillor Weaver, as the mover, would you like the opportunity to speak?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, on all these things, it is with reluctance that we do have to put costs up from time to time, but all our waste collection is on a cost recovery basis. And so, you know, we just need to get that message across to the community. But as we know, anyone involved or living in rural Victoria, the fuel costs have had a huge impact. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Councillor Holt, as the seconder, opportunity to speak.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I endorse what Councillor Weaver had to say. I mean, we've always operated on cost recovery model. We're continuing to try to do that. In order to do that, we've had to make this significant increase. Well, it doesn't matter which way you go, the residents and ratepayers pay. So they can pay out of general rates or they can pay out of a service charge. Whichever way they go, they have to pay. And so to achieve those ends, whereby we're placing the waste services into a specific category of cost recovery, and this is the amount deemed necessary to continue the service we've continued. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Holt. Other councillors wishing to speak for? Any councillors against? No. Just before I ask for a show of hands, just to reiterate, the report does state that there is the obviously option that this can be changed in the future and that any savings will be returned back in the form of funding back to community in some form. But at this stage, as a cost recovery ploy, we're at a crossroads to make these hard decisions to keep a service viable for our communities. So in saying that, I'll ask for a show of hands in favour. That is also carried. Thank you, councillors. Moving on to 10.6, the Wedderburn Flood Management Plan draft mapping for consultation. And we've got Director Van also, please, with the report and recommendation.
Thank you, Mayor Straub. I'm pleased to present this report as it is an important step forward in building a clear and evidence-based understanding of flood behaviour risk in Wedderburn. The modelling has been carefully developed using recent flood events as well as valuable local knowledge, giving us confidence in the outcomes. Community outcomes include improving safety, supporting more informed emergency planning, and working towards reducing the long-term impacts of flooding. It will also help guide appropriate development, protect homes and infrastructure, and strengthen Council's ability to provide necessary data for future funding applications relating to flood and drainage improvements. The next step is to share these findings with the community so we can continue to build on local knowledge and ensure the plan reflects community experience and expectations. The recommendation before you is that Council, number 1, undertakes community consultation relating to the Wedderburn Flood Management Plan data review, hydrology and hydraulic modelling, draft flood study report A, and number 2, undertakes community consultation for 1 month commencing June 2026. Thank you, Mayor Straub.
Thank you, Director Van also. Councillors, any questions of the Director? Do I have a councillor prepared to move? Thank you, Councillor Holt. A councillor to second? Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Councillor Holt, opportunity to speak as the mover.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, Mr Mayor, for many, many years, Loddon Shire Council and prior to that the Coorong Shire Council were having the issues raised of flooding in Wedderburn. Now, this basically centred around the fact that the southeast corner of Wedderburn is the confluence of the Coorong and Nadu creeks. And there is a large volume of water coming down those creeks, primarily out of the Nadu Hills and out of the Sunday Morning Hills. Nadu Hills to the north, Sunday Morning Hills to the southwest. Large runoff catchment, and so two creeks join together in Wedderburn Township. And so the majority of the flooding problem has been caused down in the area of that confluence. But then in addition to that, in relatively recent times, from 2011 on, we've had massive rain events in Loddon on two occasions, and then on the last occasion it was more or less a sort of a Wedderburn Sedanid area localised flooding event, and that's caused other flooding issues. And so we've never had the capacity at Loddon to seriously investigate what was the real situation. What's really happening here? We were receiving lots of anecdotal evidence about removing rubbish out of creeks and other things. It may well have been well meant, but our advice was it wasn't the solution. And so what's now happened is we've been able to get external funding to have a look at what exactly are the facts, is one, which this is primarily, I think, this stage of what we're doing. But then after that, Mr Mayor, the rubber's going to really hit the road, because having collected that information, the next stage will include mitigation measures and very significantly planning controls. So it's when we get to that stage that we'll start to really get an understanding of what the impacts will be of this piece of work. Now, the community for a long time has been asking us to do something about the problem. We've finally got to a point via the Catchment Management Authority and the state government where we can investigate the problem, but it also has to be understood, and this is somewhat of a concern to me, that it's the next stage when there might be a realisation that there's going to be some repercussions here around developments in Wedderburn. But this is the path we've taken. We're gathering the facts, and then it's when we see the actual impacts of what this report includes for Wedderburn that we'll really see what's happening here. So look, we've responded to long-time community concern. We're doing the work, or we're not. We're having the work done for us by what we hope are experts, and we wait the report, and then we await following recommendations, which I assume is stage 2. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Holt. Councillor Weaver is a seconder. Opportunity to speak.
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Any further councillor wishing to speak for? Thank you, councillor Wilson.
No, against.
Against? Speaking against, councillor Wilson. Thank you.
My esteemed colleague, councillor Holt, made a couple of comments just then that are very pertinent to what I have to say. One, we're gathering the facts. Based on the report that I looked at that was presented to us at Forum, I was underwhelmed by the quality of the data presented to us. Having said that, an awful lot of it I did not understand because it was so technical with the overlays and the flooding and the mapping and whatever. The thing that came out of it for me, just resoundingly, was about planning controls. And that was from looking at that first iteration of the report. You know, if you build a house next to a creek, guess what? It might flood. Council, you let somebody build a house next to a creek, guess what? It might flood. So that to me are sort of very obvious things. But I, to be honest, found the data in that report, I didn't find it particularly convincing. I found a lot of what was in that report anecdotal already. Already community had been quizzed about things and they talked about the height of the flood because we've got a notch in the kitchen door. We have talked about these experts, but I was underwhelmed by the quality of that first report we saw and the data in it. I don't think it had enough historical data in it to form many conclusions. I'm not sure it included data from the 2011 floods. I think it was more focused on the 23-24 floods. That's 2 years out of however many thousands of years. The one good thing in that report was that they haven't identified any new flooding areas. So it's looking over current things. But I can't support that report, so I can't support it going out to the community. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Wilson. Any other councillors speaking for or against? No. Councillor Holt is the mover. Opportunity to sum up debate.
Look, I hear what Councillor Wilson has said, and I too would share some concerns around the quality of the report. However, I think in terms of us having an understanding of what's happening, it will be an improvement on what we had. The one thing in it that concerns me, even though I'm still supporting it, is I think the world might be moving on its attitude to response to climate change. And I'll be watching very closely if when we get this report, they've included impacts of climate change, which is their opinion of the impacts of climate change, which will in turn impact on the future development of one of Loddon's major towns. But councillors will deal with that when we have to deal with it. Now, the one bit there that would be of concern is, and I don't have sufficient knowledge to know how this would work, but where there'll be mandated planning changes to the Loddon planning scheme regarding development in Wedderburn. The point I'm trying to make is if climate change is included in the impact, right? Because we would debate that. There's varying community opinions on that. But I do think, Councillor Wilson, let's wait and see what they give us. For years, I have not been convinced of some community members' solutions to the problem. I think it's almost a natural phenomenon. And it's stage 2 where we'll see impacts if we have to react to stage 2.
Thank you, Councillor Holt. In summing up, let's put it to the vote. A show of hands in favour, against, and that is carried. Thank you, councillors. Let's keep moving along. Information reports. Councillors, we have 5 reports for information today, and we will start with 11.1, the Annual Infrastructure Program 25 to 26 and the Flood Restoration Program Quarterly Report. And I'll ask Director Van also please to run us through the report and the recommendation attached.
Thank you, Mayor Straub. I'm pleased to present the quarterly update on the Annual Infrastructure Program and Flood Restoration Program to the end of March 2026. Overall, the program is progressing well, with 66 projects across the Annual Infrastructure Program, 21 already completed and 45 underway. Importantly, there are no projects off track, and we're expecting all to be delivered by the 30th of June 2026. The Flood Restoration Program is also moving along steadily, with 61% of all restoration works completed, with the immediate response works finished and the broader reconstruction program well underway. It's good to see the progress of these programs translating into practical outcomes that people can see benefit from. I also wish to acknowledge the work of our staff and contractors who have been putting in a consistent effort to keep these programs moving. It's a significant workload, and their commitment is a big part of why we are seeing positive results. The recommendation before you is that Council note Quarter 3 progress towards delivery of the Annual Infrastructure Program 2025-26 and the progress of the Flood Restoration Program. Thank you, Mayor Straub.
Thank you, Director Van also. Councillors, we've seen the report. Is there any questions? Is there a councillor prepared to move to the recommendation that Council notes the quarterly report? Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Councillor to second. Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Councillor Wilson, opportunity to speak to the motion. Councillor Angelo as the seconder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think everyone involved with this venture, you know, not even halfway through the year and nearly halfway through it. So take my hat off to all involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Any other councillor wishing to speak for or against? Show of hands in favour. That's carried. Thank you very much. 11.2, the Executive Director Quarterly Activity Report for the third quarter, January to March 2026. Mr. Fitzgerald, please.
Thank you, Mayor Straub. Councillors, this report represents the third quarter report from January to March 2026. It provides context for some of the work undertaken across the area of responsibility that's detailed within this report. The report is quite extensive with a number of attachments, so I won't go into detail, but ultimately it relates to some details about the activities of the Central Victorian Greenhouse Alliance, for which I'm the nominated representative on behalf of Council. We've provided quite a detailed report there. Future reports will include a summary, but hopefully that gives councillors a bit of an understanding of the activities of that group. And we'll have more to report in terms of some projects that they're working on in the next quarterly report, because there are some benefits to council there around energy efficiency and responding to some of our community plans as well. The report also includes some activities from tourism, from economic development, and also our media activities. So again, we've provided some information about I guess the reach and the activity that occurs in the media to help councillors understand our work in that space. I'll take the report as read, and the recommendation is that Council receive and note the Executive Directorate Quarterly Activity Report. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Fitzgerald. Councillors, is there any questions? Is there a councillor prepared to move? Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Councillor Weaver as the mover.
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Angelo.
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Any other councillor wishing to speak for? Against? Do I have a show of hands in favour? And that report is also received and noted. It's carried. Moving on to 11.3, the Road Management Plan Compliance Report. And Director Van also, please take us through the report with recommendation.
Thank you, Mayor Straub. I'm very pleased to report another strong set of results. All scheduled road inspections were completed on time, achieving 100% compliance. This is an excellent outcome and gives the community confidence that the road network is being consistently monitored and managed. Defect rectification has also performed exceptionally well, with 98.5% of defects addressed within required timeframes. Importantly, there are no outstanding issues of concern, and the small number of completed outside timeframes have been resolved promptly. The maintenance grading program has also delivered solid results, with over 500 kilometres of roads graded during the quarter, helping to maintain safe and reliable access for our community. I'd also like to recognise the great work of our staff who have kept things moving and delivered these results, while also responding to the recent rain events in Boort and Pyramid Hill during this quarter. The recommendation before you is that Council receive and note the Road Management Plan Compliance Report for Quarter 3 of the 2025-2026 financial year. Thank you, Mayor Straub.
Thank you, Director Van also. Councillors, any questions firstly? Do I have a councillor prepared to move? Thank you, Councillor Wilson. A councillor to second? Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Councillor Wilson, as the mover, opportunity to speak to the motion. Councillor Weaver as the seconder?
No, thank
No.
you, Mayor.
Any other councillor? Councillor Holt?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, I'd just like to make a quick comment. The road management plan, within the context of our discussions around financial sustainability, is one of those documents and policies adopted by Council that may well need to be reviewed benchmark of service delivery. So all the operations director can do is comply with the plan. It's a council decision which he has to comply with. Now, if in complying with that plan there are cost issues that we can't sustain, well, we first look at the plan. As an example, there are other management plans, Mr Mayor, but this is a very significant one. So I'm supporting the acceptance of the report, Mr Mayor, but I'm just making the comment, and I'm sort of in a way trying to make the public aware that these policies, strategies and plans that deliver that stress a service level for our community may have to be reviewed, such that then the officer in the directorate in charge of delivering those plans can respond accordingly.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Holt. It sets a intervention level, which then sets a budgetary program, and that is policy driven. No one was speaking against, so I will then now put it to the vote. Show of hands in favour. That is carried. Thank you, councillors. Moving along to 11.4, the Community Wellbeing Directorate Quarterly Activity Report for the quarter to January, from January to March 2026. Director Gladman, please, with the report. Thank you.
Councillors, this report provides you with a quarterly snapshot of activity across the Community Wellbeing Directorate for the period January to March 2026. Overall, the report shows continued delivery across a broad range of community wellbeing, compliance, environmental health and community support functions, with a strong focus on maintaining services and supporting local communities. Kindergarten services commenced 2026 with 72 enrolments across Council's 4 preschools, and the kindergarten service continuity was strong this quarter, with only one closure across approximately 160 sessions. The rollout of the state government's Best Start, Best Life pre-prep reform is a positive development, increasing provision from 15 to 20 hours per week for 4-year-olds and strengthening school readiness outcomes. During the quarter, the Maternal and Child Health Service received 15 birth notifications, welcomed 6 first-time parents, convened a first-time parent group and a group activity focusing on families with children 18 months to 2 years of age. 18 immunisations were delivered across 4 infant sessions this quarter, and while this is lower than some previous quarters, it reflects the structure of the program, with school-based components delivered at set times during the year and a traditionally low uptake of appointments during January. In community compliance, demand remained high, with 156 complaints responded to during the quarter, including livestock, domestic animal and general local laws matters. Officers also completed 5 after-hours call-outs, managed 55 impoundments and continued planning compliance work, with 10 matters resolved and 18 matters still being pursued. No formal enforcement action was required for unsightly properties, with compliance achieved through engagement and follow-up. In environmental health, Council continued to meet its statutory obligations through 27 registered premises inspections, 5 Tobacco Act inspections and 7 septic system permits. The team also responded to 8 public health complaints, resolving 8 matters, while continuing broader public health activities such as food inspections, pool water testing, mosquito reduction and communicable disease monitoring. Council continued its support for community-led initiatives, including event sponsorship for a number of major local events, a round of community grant allocations, plus ongoing support for newsletters, hall and reserves, water subsidies and community planning. The major sponsorship provided support for 4 events during the quarter, including Bort Cup Day, Wedderburn Cup Day, Pyramid Hill Art Show and the Wedderburn Detector Jamboree. Whilst 10 community grants were assessed as eligible during the quarter, 8 of these provided a co-contribution commitment for tiny towns funding applications and are subject to these being successful. Council also achieved positive outcomes through external funding, with successful applications for the Bort Lawn Tennis Club lights and Little Lake Bort Youth Activity Space. Councillors, the recommendation before you is that Council receive and note the Community Wellbeing Directorate Quarterly Activity Report. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Director Gladman. Councillors, any late questions, queries or comments? Councillor Wilson with a question.
Director Gladman, could you please expand on what our obligations and what we do in terms of communicable disease monitoring, please?
Thank you, Councillor Wilson.
Yes,
Director.
certainly. So there is a requirement for certain outbreaks, so particularly around gastroenteritis in facilities would be a really good example. In a hospital or a kindergarten, that would be required to be reported to our environmental health officer, and he works with that organisation to then see them through the dealing with that outbreak.
Right, so we're not talking about Ebola or plague or anything like that?
No, we would have some role to play, but that generally, that pandemic planning type of involvement is at state level.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Director Gladman. Thank you, Councillor Wilson, for the question. Councillors, do I have Councillor Holt with the question, or you're moving the microphone, Councillor Holt? if you've got a question.
Just a comment, Mr Mayor. What I like to look at is trending with these reports, and I'm particularly interested in, to give us a bit of an indication of what our future brings. I've always done this. I like looking at kindergarten enrolments to see if there's trend there.
Yep.
Now, when we're dealing with small numbers, a couple of families moving to a small community can make a significant difference to the enrolments. But I do notice that the total enrolments, year 3, year 4, 25 over 26, 26 over 25, they are remaining relatively stable. Now, in fact, they've gone up a bit, but the important thing is that they're not declining. You see there, for example, bought last year 21, this year 23. Dinghy's a bit of an interesting one. 15 last year, 23. The one I struggle a bit with is the Inglewood one. The Inglewood Bridgewater area, we're constantly told by our officers is a growth area. Well, how come the kindergarten numbers have declined? I would have thought that catchment would be the biggest kindergarten enrolment. So that's an interesting one. Pyramid Hill, well, I think the Pyramid Hill enrolments pretty well reflects the size of the Pyramid Hill community, say, compared with the size of the Boort community. So in other words, I just wanted to make 2 points, Mr Mayor. We're not trending, doesn't look like we're trending down, and I don't know if you'd agree with that, Officer Gladman. We're not trending down, which is a very good thing, but if you have a look, the Inglewood enrolments, year 3, year 4 enrolments added together are 13 this year. That's the interesting one to me. It might be just a bubble. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you for those comments, Councillor Holt. Is there a councillor prepared to move a motion? Thank you, Councillor Holt. A councillor to second? I'll go with Councillor Angelo. Thank you, though, Councillor Weaver. Councillor Holt, I'll give you an opportunity to speak to the motion.
Yeah, just quickly, Mr Mayor, it's an information report. It is what it is. It's placed before us. I sometimes think these reports should be simply tabled, and if we've got a question, we ask them. But anyway, and I've made my comment about the specific area of kindergarten enrolments. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Holt. Councillor Angelo? Do I have anyone else wishing to speak for? No one against? Show of hands in favour. Carried. 11.5, the Development and Compliance Quarterly Activity Report, and I'll ask Director Van also, please.
Thank you, Mayor Straw. This is a strong and positive report reflecting consistent performance across strategic planning, statutory planning and building services. Notably, 91% of planning applications were determined within statutory timeframes, which is well above the average for comparable regional councils and demonstrates a high level of service to our community. Council continues to make meaningful progress on several key strategic initiatives, including the Wedderburn Flood Management Plan and the Bridgewater and Inglewood structure plans, helping to ensure future growth across the Shire is well planned and aligned with community expectations. In building services, we are also seeing solid outcomes, with over $4 million in planning works approved for this quarter, reflecting continued local investment and activity. This is supported by a proactive approach from staff in working with permit holders and maintaining a strong focus on safe and compliant development. Overall, these results highlight Council's commitment to supporting growth while maintaining high standards and protecting community interests. I'd like to thank the team for the professionalism and dedication in delivering these outcomes for Loddon. The recommendation before you is that Council receives and notes the third quarter Development and Compliance Quarterly Activity Report for the 2025-2026 financial year. Thank you, Mayor Straub.
Thank you, Director Van Also. Councillors, do we have any late questions? Councillor Wilson?
Thank you, Mayor. Just wondering on the completion with the timeframes for decisions within 60 days. Yes, we met our target in February. We didn't in January at 89%, and we didn't at March at 80%. Can you provide any information as to why we had a completion rate of only 80% for March?
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Director?
Through you, Mayor. It may be in respect to waiting on information from the applicants in respect to some of the planning applications that were received and awaiting further information from the applicants.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Did you have a follow-up question?
Oh, not a question, just a comment that I think it would be great for us to know confidently that not meeting that target is for reasons beyond our control. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Very good point. In that case, do I have a councillor prepared to move a motion that we receive and note this particular quarterly report? Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Councillor to second. Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Councillor Weaver, opportunity to speak.
No, thank you, Mr Mayor, but it would be good to know just what the hold-ups were on those.
Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Councillor Angelo?
No, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Any further councillor wishing to speak for, against? No. I'll ask for a show of hands in favour, and that is carried. Thank you very much. Councillors, we have one compliance report today, 12.1, the Audit and Risk Committee Update Biannual Report and Annual Performance Assessment. And I'll ask Director Steadman to please take us through that report. And we did have representative from the Audit and Risk Committee independent member come and present to us earlier today. So we had a great first-hand conversation around the report we're going to discuss now. Thank you, Director.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, in line with the Audit and Risk Committee charter requirements, this report presents a summary of the Audit and Risk Committee's most recent meeting earlier this month, along with the committee's biannual update report to Council and the results of its annual performance assessment. The biannual report provides an overview of the committee's work over the reporting period, including oversight of internal audit activity, risk management, financial governance, compliance matters, and liaison with Council's external audit team as well. The report also confirms the committee's self-assessment against its terms of reference, its charter, with a collection of improvement activities that will be pursued over the coming 12 months. The recommendation with councillors is that Council receives and notes the summary of the Audit and Risk Committee meeting 4th of May 2026, the Audit and Risk Committee Biannual Report May 2026, and the results of the 25-26 Audit and Risk Committee Annual Performance Assessment. Thank you, Mayor Straub.
Thank you, Director Steadman. Councillors, I will have the opportunity for any last questions. Councillor Wilson with a question.
Comment?
Comments, yes?
I think it's important for the community to understand that this committee is incredibly important to them because it is one of the governance controls that keeps the council on the straight and narrow, for want of a better term. They're a fantastic reference group for us, and it's full of experts who we can tap into issues around compliance, audit, risk and finance. So it's a great resource for the councillors. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. In that case, if there's no further questions, I'm going to ask if the councillor prepared to move to the compliance report. Do I have a mover? Thank you, councillor Weaver. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Holt just jumped in. Thank you. Councillor Weaver, opportunity to speak to your motion.
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Holt as a seconder. Do I have anyone else wishing to speak for or against? Show of hands in favour. And that is carried. Thank you very much, councillors. All right. We have no urgent business admitted, so we can move along to our next part of today's meeting, which is confidential items. And council has now addressed all items listed in parts of this meeting open to the public. And we will now need to move the meeting be closed, that this meeting will now close to the public and the live streaming will cease to allow council to consider two confidential items listed in the agenda, which relate to the Chief Executive Officer's Performance Review 2026 and the reappointment of the Chief Executive Officer,